Shalom Yisrael. When it starts with those by giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem Shai. The belongs to the apostles of GMS and honestly brothers are doing the work and truth while sincerity. Now in this edition of the FAQ, I'm going to answer the question, what is assimilation, right? So I'm just basically going to go straight into it. It says cultural assimilation is the process by which a person or group's language and or culture come to resemble those of another group. The term is used to refer to both individuals and groups, and in the latter case, it can refer to either immigrant diasporas or native residents that come to be culturally dominated by another society. Right, so basically, the whole point of assimilation is when a group of people basically mix in with another group of people and then they basically learn their customs. They basically start behaving like one another. Right, an example, and a best example of this for you is immigrant women. Right, so women from the other nations, say for instance, Muslim women from like Saudi Arabia, and that they'll come over here. We've witnessed at a camp, and start running their mouth. However, were they to be in their home country, were they to be in their native land, that would be an act that could get them killed. Here it is in their native countries, they're not allowed to walk around on their own yet. We'll be at camp and we'll see them on Oxford Circus, basically chatting shit. Right? But forget about them. The main point is that's what Israel basically do, man. Israel's basically been in Babylon so long, and each time we were in captivity of some sort, we started behaving like the people around us, which is why ultimately, what does the scripture say in Deuteronomy, I believe it was the 7th chapter, no, 32nd chapter, it says when the Most High divided, because, Israel's holy, and holy means separate. We ain't supposed to be around the heathen because you know what? When we're around them, we learn their ways. And Israel likes to be the best at everything. If the heathen are being wicked, Israel want to be the best at being wicked. Example of that is if a black girl amongst a group of the only black girl amongst a group of white girls, she'll be the biggest hoe out of all of them. She'll be the biggest cum slut because they're sluts, so she has to one up on them. And the case of that is in Babylon, man. All this, look, keep your line up fresh for weeks. Line up. Despite the fact Leviticus 19:27 says, "Ye shall not round the corners of your beards, neither shall thou mar the corners of thy beard." It's like ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shall thou mar the corners of your beard. Because this all comes from, I believe, from Egypt, man. This was an Egyptian custom. This isn't the custom of a Hebrew as we read in the scriptures there. And I'm basically going to bring out that you also had this happening at the same time in Ezra's, the time of Ezra's. Now this is, I believe, I'm not too sure which king it is. Maybe King Darius. I don't know if he had died at this point, but it was that time. It was at that time around that period of King Darius or Cyrus. It says Ezra's 9:1 says, "Now when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, The people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and the rulers hath been chief in this trespass." So basically, they were basically just mixing. And this scripture there backs up the point I was making earlier on. It says, doing according to their abominations. Right, and you know how Jake get, man. In fact, you know how all men get, man, when they're into their woman. Especially look at Jake nowadays, man. They start bowing down to their women. How did King Solomon go off? Pursuant to Nehemiah, the last chapter in Nehemiah, is because he started basically. It wasn't the fact he was dealing with the heathen women; it was the fact that he started, worshipping their gods. Building houses for their gods. I think that's Nehemiah, the 13th chapter. Right, it says, did not Solomon, we start Nehemiah 13:23. It says, in those days also saw I Jews that married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon and Moab, and their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by the Most High, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these? Yet among many nations, and basically goes on to say, nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin, right? Because that's so basically the point I'm bringing out is it happened then, and it can happen. And it's happening right now. That which hath been is that which is now. That which is now is that which is to be. So basically this was happening back then. It's happening now. And as I showed you the picture, man, one of the customs that Jake love right now is basically, the whole lineup thing, man. Now the new one is this whole homosexuality thing. That's the custom of the West. Here it is, if you go, these guys, like to talk about Africa this, Africa that, just since I've mentioned that word, we're not Africans, we're Israelites. You have Israelites in Africa, but you had the Gambian president basically saying, don't try and bring that gay shit over here. If we catch a gay person, we'll slit his throat, and there's nothing a white man can do about it. So that's based point of when we're amongst these heathens, we start following their customs, man. If you notice the way, if you observe the way first generation immigrants behave, in comparison to their children, is completely different, because their children have assimilated into the society and learned the way of the heathens. When the scriptures in Jeremiah the 10th chapter 2nd verse says, Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the sign of heaven. Right? And so basically the best way of not learning the way of the heathen is to not to be around the heathen. So with that, I hope I've answered the question. Let's see if there's any points here. It says assimilation, noun, act of assimilating, from Old French assimilation, from Latin assimilatonomen, assimilation nomen, lotion, I can't say that word, likeness, similarity, right? Because that's the thing, you start behaving like these heathens, man. Right, and for all intents and purposes, you become a heathen. Which is why brothers in the camp basically always like to say, you're westernized. In reference to IUIC, they call them westernized Hebrews. But for most people here, they're westernized. They're not Israelites anymore. We tell them that you can, if you can pop, you can take a woman, you can rape a woman. We tell them that they got a problem with it. When actually that's our custom, but because they've been westernized, they more or less are. They're not Hebrews anymore. They're not Israelites anymore, to be more specific. But with that, I hope I've got the point. And until the next one, I'm gonna say shalom.